The Adepta Sororitas are performing very well competitively right now under the Pariah mission deck in 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000. Bringers of Flame is part of that. It's a detachment I like, but not my favourite, and it is still very possible to run it wrong. Bringers of the Flame is really good. All of your units get assault, so they can move and advance and still shoot. It's a shooting focused detachment. The increase in strength on your melter weapons means that they're now strength 10, Inferno pistols are now strength 9, but that means that you can be wounding vehicles, a lot of the lighter vehicles, on a 3+, and more of the heavier vehicles on a 4+. Your flamers, your Ministorum flamers, they are strength 5 already, they go to strength 6, which means you're wounding light infantry that have a toughness 3 on a 2+, and tougher things like orcs on a 3+. It also makes your bolt guns, which are rapid firing in their 12-inch range, they go to strength 5, so they can also be wounding a lot of tanks on a 5+ instead of a 6+. It feels very 9th edition, and just that one extra strength really tips us over into those different categories of what you need to wound. When you're making a list for the Battle Sisters, well, if you're making any competitive list for the Pariah Nexus missions, you want some heavy hitters and lots of small scoring units. This is the staple way of making 40k army lists since 9th edition, and we've seen it come back a lot more because in Pariah Nexus, you need more units to complete more of the secondary missions. But how small you're able to make your units and how well you use the units is what will determine victory. For the heavy hitters of the Adepta Sororitas, there is the Castigator. Either turret option is good, and when looking at the first place winner for the Battle for the Capital, Scott Ketchum, he had one of each turret and his 2 Castigators. Whatever they hit, and it can just be with one of the heavy bolters, that takes an extra point of armor penetration from all other units shooting at it. It's great for taking down monsters, vehicles, and heavy infantry. Pair that with an Immolator, firing in either order, and you can ignore cover as well. Morwen Val and the Paragon Warsuits provide a lot of high strength attacks and high damage multi-melters. They are great, but expensive, and you need to keep them hidden as they go down far easier than their profile would suggest. Having a unit of suits by themselves also works. They naturally get +1 to hit and +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. That's really powerful at dropping the enemy's big things. And this is why they all have multi-melters, to capitalize on that. In the index, heavy flamers worked well without Morwen Val, but with this ability, you want as many high strength attacks as possible. So take the Paragon grenade launchers and multi-melters, not storm bolters or heavy bolters. Another key unit is the Diologus. I know what you're thinking. I know this tactic. They join a unit and then they make a miracle dice number a 6 before it is used. But that isn't the important number. The important number for the Diologus is the points cost. At time of recording, they are 30 points, the cheapest Adepta Sororitas unit that you can take to a tournament. If you're not at a tournament, you can play with Crusaders and Death Cult Assassins, both very cheap and they do the same job. Games Workshop has been very clear recently that Legend units are designed to be played in match play games, just not at tournament events. The reason they gave was there is a potential advantage if some players were able to buy models before they were no longer available for others to purchase. And it makes the Legends rule right sad if you don't play with your Warhammer models. It also makes me sad to think you'll be putting models away forever because of what the tournament bros do. So now that I've mentioned the Crusaders and the Assassins, you may know the role of the Diologus. They are a cheap secondary objective scorer. Just cheap, that's the important quality. If the points changed, then you pick the next cheapest unit, so 3 Arco-Flagellants can do the same thing. One of the abilities of the Diologus is to remove Battle Shock from a friendly unit, and that still works even though she's not leading a unit, so you're still getting some utility out of her abilities. But you need the units to score secondary objectives. More of the secondary missions in the Pariah mission deck require more units at the same time to be completing actions. But I know that a Diologus alone can look unusual. They're not a lone operative. People tend to use alone operatives because they can't be shot outside of 12 inches. That means they're also safe from indirect fire weapons. But the Diologus is going to be annoying to shift. She now has a 4+ invulnerable save and has 3 wounds, so she'll probably draw more firepower than deserved as your opponent will want to guarantee her death to stop you scoring victory points. Indirect fire weapons like an Exorcist or a Basilisk, they may be overdoing it a bit to kill that one character. And indirect fire weapons have gone up so much in points, and they only hit on a 4+ at best when you're firing indirectly, so they're often not considered worth it to tournament players. As the Diologus is going to go down, If you are running the Hallowed Martyrs detachment, then you could add on the 10-point Saintly Example to get more miracle dice when they die. And this, children, is why we don't net list. You need to know the tactics behind the list, otherwise it is pointless words on paper or a screen. And anyone else looking at it will think, oh yeah, you put them with Dominions and that gives you better miracle dice for their melter weapons. Knowing the actual tactics and way of playing it is the important bit. This is the same for the Jump Canoness. Logically, you would put her with the Seraphim to get a free Cleansing Flame stratagem so that your Seraphim with Hand Flamers have devastating wounds. But that is not what Scott Ketchum did. The Jump Canoness goes alone. The Jump Canoness has the Halberd, which gives the most attacks, so when she hits and activates her own Devastating Wounds ability with Divine Deliverance, she has the potential to cause more damage. Because she is alone, that's why she has the Iron Surplice enhancement to keep her going for longer. And a 2+ save with Shield of Aversion as an option is tough to get through, and that is a stratagem that she can use for free. She doesn't have to be leading a unit to make a stratagem 1 command point cheaper. She is then also another character that can complete actions and score secondary objectives when she isn't killing things. This is not the most out there big brain no one's ever thought of it before tactic, but it's definitely unusual. Everyone's list at the moment are as many Seraphim with Hand Flamers as possible, with a Jump Canoness, with Cleansing Flames to cause devastating wounds, and maybe an enhancement to make that even better. Or you could go with 5 Seraphim. 5 Seraphim alone have the job of removing enemies from lightly defended objectives and completing secondary objectives of their own. And with their ability to move after shooting, they can potentially get onto objectives after shooting and move 18 inches in a turn. And in the Bringers of Flame Detachment, you can do all of that with an advance move. You don't need to come in from Deep Strike, and in tournaments, your opponent will often know how to screen out deep striking units. So you have them hidden on your side of the field, and then you fly up when needed. As they are infantry, they can fly through walls. If you wanted even more speed, have them near the Triumph of St. Catherine to get an extra 2 inches of movement. It works on all your sisters' units so that you can do a late game push with tanks straight out onto objectives. Something like an Immolator can advance and still drop off a unit with Carry Forth the Faithful stratagem. And you've gone from hiding in your deployment zone to controlling the midboard in 1 turn. The Triumph also gives a speed boost to get your Paragon Warsuits up, and then they move 10 inches plus advance, which you can and probably should be using a miracle dice on. Then they shoot. 12 inches away is nice, then the Bringers of Flame kicks in. If you're less than 9 inches away, then you're in melter range and cause bonus damage. So the benefit of advancing and shooting is not to rush face first into the enemy turn 1 because gotta go fast. Wait until your opponent has exposed more of their vulnerable units, their valuable units, and then you have super speedy counterattacks. With the Bringers of Flame, whatever your first thought is, that may not be the best tactic. To get more units on the table, there are 3 Immolators. Rhinos are cheaper, Rhinos arguably do the job better, but when you want as many scoring units as possible, Immolators turn 2 Dominion squads and a Novitiate squad into 6 units that can score primary and secondary missions. We know the debate over Dominions or Battle Sisters. Currently it's about even. Some people claim the Dominions are hands down better than Battle Sisters, other people can't consider a functioning list without Battle Sisters. My video on the strengths of each is pinned in the comments of this video. So the Novitiates, 1/2 infiltrate and start generating more miracle dice if you go first, and it lets you score some secondaries like extend battle lines, but the other half are with a Palatine in an Immolator. Palatines can wreck things. My video on Palatines going smash is also in the pinned comment. But Palatines and Novitiates is really strong. So have a look at this video on a different tournament winning army using the Hallowed Martyrs detachment, which features the power of that detachment and explains how the Palatines and Novitiates complement each other perfectly. Have a great day of competitive Battle Sisters in 40k.